punching machine. And he was one of the founders of the Maui Japanese Cultural Society. He also provided, where he at that time nobody knows, but he did, provided various educational activities between Japan and the Japanese cultural societies on the other islands. This is not just telling you, I know because I used to go with him many times. And every time we got off the plane, people were there and they greeted him like he was the emperor. And he did not go empty-handed. That's local style. He didn't buy anything. I bought Maui hot dog, Maui Portuguese sausage, because my dad used to work for Urupalakua Ranch, and I was able to get boxes of those to take wherever Mr. Okumura wanted to go. And Mr. Okumura said, "This is from Terada." My maiden name was Terada. I said, "No, it's not from Terada. It is from Kumamoto, Kenjin-kai." Kumamoto, the prefectural part of Japan, where many of the people who came to farm in Hawaii came from. In 2001, Mr. KAZUMA Okumura received the Imperial Decoration Award. That is the Order of the Rising Sun with silver rays from the Japanese government. Not just the emperor, from the whole country of Japan. KAZUMA Okumura's children remember their father as a kind-hearted father who was very loving and helped a lot of people. I'm not making it up. I know because I used to go with him many times. My father said, "Go with Mr. Okumura so he can go and thank the people in the community for helping monetarily, more than that, for his friendship." I was amazed where I had to go with him. So I told my father, as long as I'm living, as long as Mr. Okumura is around, I will help as much as I can. And I'm glad I had that opportunity. Thank you very much.
I like to just share a few of the memories I had with Dad. And one is how he disciplined me. When I was 7 years old, we used to wait for Dad to pick us up. My sister used to be called Hatsuko. She goes by the name of Eiko. But too bad she can't be here because she's in Italy now. And we used to walk from Makuau Elementary School to the Yamamoto Tofuya store and wait in that area. And every so often, I would go in the store and, I have a nickel or dime and I would buy a candy. And then one day, the owner of the store talked to my dad. He says, "Okumura-san, how come you give your son money, but nothing to your daughter?" And that night, my father sat me down in the kitchen and he asked me, "Did you take any money from the..." You know how when we go out, we have small change, we put it in the drawer? We have a small table in the kitchen, and he used to drop his change there. So every so often I would take a nickel or a dime, and I had to spend it. But I got caught, and so they asked me, did you take it? And I was scared. So I admitted it, and then he said, I will count the money in the drawer, and if anything is missing, you're going to be in big trouble. And you know, he never did spank me. And I remember that to this day, that how kind that he was. He meted out his discipline, where I would really listen to it and learn by it. He told me it was wrong to do that. If I wanted money for something special, just ask. So that was one experience. The other one is that on farming. He farmed with thought of conservation and scientific farming. Our farm used to be on a kind of sloping land, and so he learned that you have to plant on the contour. Contour is keep your crop on the same level. If you plant up and down the hill, anytime it rains, the water would just wash off the soil, topsoil. So by planting it on the contour, and he terraced all his land in terraces. So whenever there's a big rain, the water would soak into the soil and not wash away the soil. So that was a good thing. And actually he learned a lot from the University of Hawaii Cooperative Extension Service. And to this day, I learned about conservation because he taught me how to preserve what we have, our resources, use less of what you have, do not waste, and give back to nature. And because of that, I feel that he left this world a better place for having lived than anyway. Because that's why I think everything is so good, that because of him. He treated people fairly and with respect, honored his word, and lived responsibly. He left us a legacy of being kind, generous, and thoughtful, and it will be hard for us to emulate or to copy, because it's really, what he did was really something. I have a special love and deep respect for him and the good deeds he did for the people and the community. And as much as I can, I will try to continue his legacy. But I could get your help, because he was able to get people to cooperate and do the things that needed to be done. I love you, Dad, and know that you are in a better place now, and I will miss you. I know that his spirit is here, and with all of you being here and the things that you have done to help us, I know that he is very happy wherever he is. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Stan Okumura, the middle child, and I'll give you some of my impressions and memories of Oto-san as I grew up. And I guess you realize that as a child, sometimes your impressions and what you remember can be a little different from what adults have perceived. But I was a pretty sickly child, so he always gave me the extra love and care as I grew up. He spared the rod and heaped the praise on me. And this was before our modern understanding of child development came about. He even used to praise me for my singing ability. So I thought I had his talent to sing. But I quickly found out that I was tone deaf and couldn't carry it. Dad, as he grew up, was also a pretty sickly child. And that's why he became so very health conscious, and he obsessed with eating right and healthy practices. Maybe the vegans and vegetarians now got his message somehow. He was a strong believer in the Nishishiki health system. And he ordered these special contraptions from Japan. One was an upside-down bicycle. One was a neck strap that you put around your neck, put on the door, had a pulley, and you pulled yourself up and suspended yourself. You hung yourself in the doorway. We had to take hot and cold baths, 1 minute in each, alternate, and that stimulated your circulation. And many other exercise routines, and I used to see him do that even after I went away from home for many years and came home, and he'd be doing his exercises religiously. But as for the neck strap, I never got bold enough to fully suspend it. It must be good for your spine. Some of those things I still continue to this day. Like if I injure my hand, I would raise it and shake it rapidly, and that accelerated the healing process. But then I would get some strange looks. His long life is due to his healthy lifestyle, living at home with family, and the total devotion, love, and care he received from Colin. My nephew Colin, for the last 7 years, we are forever grateful for his care, and that's part of the one of the main reasons for his longevity and quality of life in his terminal years, the last 10 years, when he really enjoyed life, driving around, seeing the scenery, meeting people. As a kid, I always wondered how he learned the Japanese culture, language, reading and writing, and kanji so well, so much better than his Nisei peers. And since he knew that culture so well, I think he got involved with the Japanese community and cultural relationships and much of his accomplishments. He said he learned his Japanese because he was hospitalized for about 3 months as a child. And at that time, he made up his mind to focus on learning Japanese real well. And his mind was like a motivated sponge, and he learned everything Japanese. And, I went to Japanese school right here on these grounds. There was a building diagonally across from here for 8 years. And, but without the total commitment and attention, I haven't retained too much. With his knowledge of Japanese, he got to be very active in the community. He gave hundreds of eulogies. Now it's his turn to be eulogized. Often in his 70s and 80s, he used to go to funerals once a week or more, and he would always be asked to give the eulogy then. But right now, all his peers have passed away, so we have the younger generation like Dorothy saying some really kind words about him. He used to really be a great storyteller, so his nieces and nephews, he was their favorite uncle. They would come and listen to the samurai stories, and we had the full benefits, but he would sing. He was a man of great integrity, honesty, but he was trusting of people who were fault. I remember as a kid, he used to raise beef at one time, although he didn't eat much of it. Farming got to be pretty competitive, so he started raising cattle. And we had one steer that he would tie around the house to keep the grass down. That way you don't have to mow. But then we had to watch out for cowboys. And when the steer was big enough to slaughter, it was so tame, and friendly. It would come up to you. We just pulled it onto the truck, took it down to the slaughterhouse. And the slaughterhouse owner said, boy, it would be a shame to kill such a tame pet. So why don't I give you a steer that's equivalent in weight, and I'll keep this for a few years, enjoy the steer. So he went, picked up the meat, brought it home, and he used to cook beef haka where you use a little bit of beef and lots of vegetables, and we would enjoy that. And we would all kind of scold Mikey for picking out all the meat and eating it all the time. Vegetables. But when he prepared that meat, new meat that we got in, he took one bite and he spit it out. It was so smelly and tough. And to this day, Mikey doesn't eat meat and steak. Let's see. In closing, I would just say that I will really miss my dad dearly, but would like to celebrate his very long life and productive life, and for the many lives he has touched. And thank you all for coming today.
Hello, I'm May Okumura. I'm Howard's wife, and since April, his sister, who's his older sister, was not able to come here because she is in Italy. She spends about 6 months of the year here in Olinda and about 6 months of the year in Italy. So this is why she could not make it at this time. She wrote in tribute to Dad this. Dad and I always enjoyed each other's company, and I could really converse with him on any subject such as religion, psychology, history, news, politics, and his life stories. He was quite a character, and one story that he shared with me was when he straightened out a big bully who picked on him for his small size. This was when he was in elementary school. After school one day, the bully followed him and forced him into a fight. They struggled in a wrestling match, rolling over and over until Dad was able to pin him down, and the big bully finally had to give up. After that, they became best friends, and the bully even carried his books to school. Another time when he was working in the pineapple fields in Honolulu, the boss decided to build a cottage on the top of the hill on West Maui Mountain. So he had each of his workers carry 50 pounds of lumber to the top. Dad carried his share, but a large football player could only carry them about halfway up the hill. So Dad carried his load up the rest of the way to the top. This was amazing because he was the weakest one in the family, because he had caught Spanish flu, which killed thousands of people at that time. This led him to take a class on building your health from Dr. Nishi. I guess Stanley already told you that. And of course, use that practice to strengthen his body and build up his health. He was the most important person in my life. I appreciate all the things that he has done for me and my family. I miss him, and I am very sorry that I could not be here with you for his final farewell. It was my honor and privilege to have helped caring for both my parents in their elder years. I have fond memories of him and our loving mother, who has always been very patient with all of us. Thank you all for being here today in honoring my father. Thank you for your loving friendship and thoughtfulness. God bless you all.
My name is Okumura. I guess everybody knows I've been taking care of Grandpa for the last 7 years. So just wanted to share a few of his favorite things that he used to like to do. I guess his number one favorite thing was going holo holo. So I mean, there was hardly any days that we wouldn't leave the house at all. I mean, if we didn't have anywhere to go, he would tell me, let's go drive around Olinda. And as we're driving around, he would say, I drove this road for 50 years on the school bus. And it would be a long time, huh? And then he would ask me, how old are you? He was very, very aware of everything. So like, during the flower seasons, the jacarandas, I mean, he would see a full bloom jacaranda tree, and like, wow, look at that tree, it's full blast, huh? And like, so I mean, he enjoyed those things. Even up here, like, I guess every once in a while they have a lot of cows. I guess they transfer out of pastures, and then he'll say, "Oh, that's the most animals I ever seen." First time. But he was always interested in that. Even when we went to the mainland, he would keep asking, "What is the name of those trees?" You'll see the flower trees and everything. So he enjoyed that. For several years, twice a week, we used to drive to Pula, and we were on the Meals on Wheels program, which worked out real nice because they always enjoyed the ride out there, and it always gave us something to look forward to. And on top of that, the Pula staff and everybody there are so friendly. And, they made him feel like a family member over there. His favorite restaurant was Tokyo Te, and whenever we took him traveling, like to Honolulu or the mainland or wherever, and we went to a Japanese restaurant, the first thing that he would do is compare it to Tokyo Te. And then, so if he was satisfactory food, he would just say, "Oh, it's not as good as Tokyo Te." If he wasn't satisfied, he would say, "This is the worst food ever. Don't ever come here again." But there was one time too that I guess he was really unsatisfied, and then he told the worker, he's like, "Do you work here?" And the guy's like, "Oh yeah." And he said, "You better go back to school." And the guy's like, "Huh?" He's like, "Yeah, you gotta learn how to cook." So he was always, open to speak his mind, no matter what it was. So his favorite foods were like sashimi was number one. And he loved koi, daikon, kamaboko, salmon, any fresh fish, taco poke, even pizza. And that was kind of weird because like one day we were passing Makawa and they got that pizza fresh there, and he's like, "Oh, let's go try that." So I took him and he kind of enjoyed it, and I was like, "Wow, Gaffer, you like pizza?" He was like, "Yeah, when I was young, I never eat pizza." So it was kind of weird because during that time, for like a few months straight, almost every other day, he would say, "Oh, let's go eat pizza." But he eventually got tired of it, and that was like, okay, And then he really enjoyed the shrimp trucks in Honolulu. So like one day my girlfriend took him driving around the island, and then I think my brother and I was like doing renovation at a apartment, so she took him around for the day. And then she told me that when they were passing the shrimp truck, he was looking at the truck like, "Oh," he's like, "Ooh, I like shrimp. I got more money." And he tells her, "You get money, I'll pay you back." So she took him there, and surprisingly, she said, he ate the whole plate by himself. It was like about 13 shrimp and like 2 scoops of rice. So he had a really good appetite back then. That was just a few years ago too. He really loved traveling as a group and with the family. A lot of times when I was saying, "Oh, let's go to you want to go here?" Like my brother recently got married in Thailand with his wife, and then at the beginning he was like, I told him, "You want to go?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm too tired and I'm too weak." But when I told him who's going and how many of us, he was like, "Okay," and then he really looked forward to it. So, we were fortunate to have him join us on that trip. That was in 2010 when he was 102 years old. So, and then we stayed with 3.5 weeks, I think. And then the second trip was the next year after that. We flew to Maryland, and then we drove to New York, and he really enjoyed himself over there. So I think as long as it was the whole family together, I think that's what made him the happiest. He was always proud of his age, so like whenever I took him around, he would always ask it would be an entire stranger that he doesn't know, but if you look at the person going, he would tap on his shoulder and say, "Oh, how old are you?" And if they would say in their 80s or 90s, he would say, "You're some young." It was only Grandpa that could say that. And it kind of made me laugh too, but so. And then the other thing that he would ask people was like, "Oh, who's the oldest person you know?" And we kind of knew he was old, so he'd just be sitting there with a big smile. would say to me too, that he was lucky because he had me caring for him. But, you know, in my mind, I think it was the opposite way. I think we were lucky to have him because he was so special. And, you know, it was my honor to have cared for him all the way to the end. And I just want to thank everybody who made Grandpa feel special and important, which I think was the real secret to his long life. I mean, without having that feeling, I don't think anybody would live to that long. So, thank you everybody again.
Okay. Good morning, Ohio gozaimasu. Thank you for coming. I never was good in English.